a pile of shit. And one economist says to the other, "I'll pay you $100 to eat that shit." So the economist eats the shit, gets the $100. They keep walking. Then the other then they come across another pile of shit, and the other economist says, "Now I'll pay you $100 to eat the pile of shit." So he pays the other economist $100 to pile of shit. Then the way they said, "Look, wait a second. We both just ate a pile of shit, and we don't have any more extra money. Like we both, you just gave the $100 back to me, and we both ate a pile of shit. This doesn't make any sense." And they said, "No, but think of the economy, because that's $200 of that in the economy. That basically that measure eating shit would count as a job." This is to illustrate the absurdity of economics.
One of the things you said when
If you enjoyed this video, you should watch my video, Is AI Slop Killing the Internet Next? Don't forget to check out our sponsor Surfshark using the link in the description, and talk to you again soon. Bye.
So I've been watching this show. You know, I watched the majority of Rings of Power. I will admit, I did not finish Rings of Power. The reason why is that I was watching it with my dad, and like my dad was unable to watch the show without falling asleep. Like physically incapable of watching the show without falling asleep. And like, by the way, yeah, he's an old man, right? But like, if we're watching a war movie or something about like something where he can tell me like he can talk to me about like how much he knows more than the movie, right? He's gonna be talking to me during the movie, and I fucking hate that, but he does it. And anyway, but yeah, with this, like I'm pretty sure like even at the starting screen he had passed the fuck out. But it never bothered. Rings of Power never bothered me, and the reason why it didn't is that I just view it as fan fiction. Fan fiction. It's just it. Yeah. It's the same as like that Shadow of Mordor. Like, oh, you can make a blue One Ring. No. Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. Like, I didn't give a shit about that.
Hey kid, are you interested in a story about an overpowered elf girl who, after a tragic loss, travels through a fantasy realm to fight evil alongside diverse, quirky characters? If you thought I was talking about the Lord of the Rings of Power, you'd be wrong. Let's face it, the Rings of Power had a chance.
To be fair, though, like
the Lord of the Rings of Power.
The one thing that we did get,
let's face it,
we got a few really fucking badass scenes. This is one of them. This was fucking awesome.
The Rings of Power had a chance to be a good show, but ultimately failed to capture the whimsical nature of Tolkien's work.
Numenor was
Luckily,
good.
Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, or So No Frieren, is everything the Rings of Power wishes it could be, and does more justice to Tolkien's work without even using the same name or characters. But what I found most interesting is the surprising similarities between Frieren and Galadriel, as they both share similar character traits, motivations, and even some of the same flaws. Of course, just having those traits doesn't necessarily make a character well written. I know there are a ton of YouTubers who already ragged on Galadriel, calling her a Mary Sue, and even speculating that she may in fact be Sauron in disguise. So it's great to have Frieren as an example of how you could make a likable Galadriel. I highly recommend you watch at least episode 1 of So No Frieren for context. It's only around 20 minutes long, and you will pretty much get everything you need to know about the story and the character. And while I'm not planning to spoil anything that you wouldn't find in the synopsis, it may lessen the impact of your initial viewing experience. For fairness, I guess you can...
Yeah, I watched, I'm up to the episode on Frieren, where the fuck? It's where, like, the guy gets the girl a birthday present. She gets mad at him because he didn't get her one in time. Like, yeah, 14 or 15, something like that. Yeah, like, I'm pretty far into it.
Watch the first episode of Rings of Power 2.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta be honest with you, whatever character analysis I do of Galadriel may not even be accurate. Since her character is so one-dimensional, I'm afraid I might make her sound too complex and interesting than she actually is. With all that out of the way, let's start. Both Frieren and Galadriel set off on their adventure after the death of a loved one. For Galadriel, it was her older brother Finrod. And for Frieren, it was her friend and fellow adventurer Himmel. Both shows make it pretty clear that those deaths had a massive impact on the protagonists and kickstarted the whole story. So I think
one reason why Frieren is better, and it's better written, is that there are a lot more things in the show that aren't outwardly stated. Like, one problem that I think a lot of like Western shows have now is that there's never any subtlety in any of the, like, any sort of media. There's never any subtlety. Everything is so outward and, like, overt. And, like, you can even compare this, it's spoon-fed, right? Yeah, it is. You can even compare this to, like, older movies. That, like, it's not like that anymore. Media literacy is dead. I don't know really why. I mean, it could be, like, a bunch of different reasons, but yeah, I think that's true.
it's important to take a look specifically at how those tragic events are presented to the audience. After all, if the viewers are to stick around for the journey, they have to be empathetic to the goals of the protagonist.
Yeah.
To make the death of a loved one impactful, a writer has to make them likable or at least establish a strong bond between them and the protagonist. The stronger the bond, the more tragic the loss is to both the protagonist and the viewer. Most writers know this, so they spend time building up the loved one in the story. There are a ton of great examples. So let's see how the Rings of Power and Soso no Frieren handled this trope. In the Rings of Power, we get to see Galadriel's childhood and Finrod's role in it. Finrod appears to be a caring older brother and a mentor to Galadriel. At least that's what I think the show is trying to establish. The lesson Finrod teaches doesn't really make sense.
The stone sees only downward.
And also, like, one thing that annoyed me about this is that think about how badass it would have been if you actually got the scene of Ungoliant and Melkor, and Ungoliant actually, like, draining the life out of the trees of Valinor. And we didn't get that. Why the fuck not? That would have been awesome. It would be insane. Yeah, it would be super cool.
Darkness of the water is vast, irresistible.
I think the writer is trying to make the scene appear more deep and profound, but lacks the wisdom to actually make it profound. The worst thing is that having Galadriel and Finrod just sitting around talking in a monotonous voice doesn't help establish a strong familial bond. Not only is it visually boring, it makes the relationship appear cold and distant.
But you must learn to discern them for yourself. I won't always be here to speak them to you.
You right?
I'm just as confused as Galadriel. Why would Finrod say that? I hope he's not implying that he will die, because the show establishes that death isn't even a concept among the elves at this point.
We had no word for death, for we thought our joys would be unending.
So technically he could always be around.
Yeah,
then again,
exactly.
I'm not sure he wants to. There's nothing to indicate that they actually like each other. When he tells her to come home with him, Galadriel just stands there and watches him go alone. Why? I don't get it. I thought they were meant to have a close relationship. Why couldn't you have...
Well, I think it's just all, like, trying to, like, make it foreshadowing for the fact that he's gonna die, right? It's like, again, like, there's the lack of subtlety.
them walk together, hold hands maybe. Maybe have her looking up at him while they walk next to each other. Anything to show that the two are actually close. Look, I know what the show is trying to symbolize with Finrod leaving her alone, but it wasn't earned yet.
Yeah.
Which is why I doubt anyone in the audience felt sad when Finrod went to war or when he was killed. We didn't even see him say goodbye to Galadriel before going to war. We don't even see anyone mourn his death besides Galadriel, and even she barely mustered out a tear. One could argue that these elves still don't quite understand the concept of death, but I'd argue it would be a good time to show them emotional and vulnerable. For such an important plot beat, the Rings of Power utterly failed to signify the importance of Finrod and the tragedy of his death.
Well, I mean, like, the big comparison there is the